Respected viewers, beloved listeners, dear family of dreamers, walking quietly toward a future only you can see, welcome. I'm grateful you're here. Grateful that out of all the noise in the world, you chose a moment of silence, of wisdom, of intention. So take a breath, settle in, because this journey we're about to begin may reshape the way you think about wealth, discipline, and the destiny waiting for you on the other side of grit. There comes a moment in every person's life when the world goes silent, and you feel something shift inside you. A whisper, a warning, or perhaps a calling. A moment when you realize that destiny isn't decided by birth, luck, or education. It's decided by the quiet choices you make when no one is watching. And for those who learn the art of building wealth, that quiet choice becomes the first brick of a fortune that can outlive them. You want to build your first $1,000 from zero, a number that feels heavy, almost mythical, when you're starting without connections, without capital, without confidence. I've known many people who felt that same weight. Some looked at that number and walked away, convinced it was for someone else. And some, the stubborn few, looked at it with a fire that refused to die. And the funny thing, the number didn't change, but they did. I remember meeting a young man years ago, broke, embarrassed, and exhausted. He told me he was tired of watching life happen to him, tired of feeling like success was always 2 steps ahead. He said, I want to be rich, but I don't know where to start. And I told him a truth that offended him at first. Forget wanting to be rich. Want to be disciplined. Wealth will follow. You see, the first step to 100,000 has nothing to do with money and everything to do with the person you become in the pursuit of it. Let me say something that may sting a little. Most people are not held back by poverty. They're held back by impatience. They jump from idea to idea, habit to habit, shortcut to shortcut, until their life becomes a graveyard of abandoned beginnings. And you cannot build $1 million life on half-finished dreams. If you want your first 1,000, the first lesson is painfully simple. You must develop the stomach to stay committed when it feels like nothing is working. Because in the beginning, nothing does work. Your savings look small. Your investments look like they're moving in slow motion. Your business ideas stumble. And your mind starts whispering that maybe you're not cut out for this. But slow progress is not failure, it is compounding in disguise. I've watched countless people break through that invisible barrier, the one between discouragement and momentum. And when they do, they look back and realize the hardest part was surviving the days when no one believed in their dream, including themselves. Now let's talk about the mindset shift, the one most people avoid because it forces them to confront their own habits. To build 1,000 from zero, you must accept that you are the only one responsible for where you are, and the only one responsible for where you're going. It isn't your parents' fault, your country's fault, your boss's fault, your circumstances' fault. The moment you take full ownership, something incredible happens. The door to wealth finally unlocks. Let me tell you a small story. There was a woman who worked 2 jobs, barely slept, and saved every extra dollar she could. She told me once, everyone around me says I'm depriving myself. And I smiled and said, they're right. You're depriving your future poverty of oxygen. People mocked her discipline, but she kept going, slowly saving, slowly investing, slowly building. And years later, the same people who laughed were asking her for advice. That's how it works. First they judge you, then they respect you, and eventually they ask you how you did it. Another truth, if you are easily influenced by the opinions of people who aren't successful, you will never be. The path to the 100,000 demands a quiet mind, a long view, a willingness to look foolish while you build something that only you can see. Now let's step quietly into the foundations of wealth. The first foundation is habitual saving. Not dramatic saving, not heroic saving, but consistent saving, even when it's boring, even when it's slow. If you save $5 today, you're no longer starting from zero. If you save 50, you're no longer the person you were last week. If you save 500, congratulations. You've done what most people never will. You've told your future, I'm coming for you. Be ready. The second foundation is learning how money grows. Not how to gamble, not how to chase hype, but how to let money work quietly in the background while you build your skills, your business, and your opportunities. Most millionaires are not made by miracles. They're made by math, patience, and time. And the third foundation is the courage to take small, intelligent risks. The kind that stretch you, but don't break you. The kind that teach you more than they cost you. The kind that make you wiser with every step. I've seen people paralyze themselves by fearing every potential loss. They forget that the biggest risk is staying exactly where they are. Well, at this point in your journey, you might be thinking, but how long will it take? When will I see results? And the answer is when you stop needing it to happen instantly. When you fall in love with the process, the results will chase you. Because wealth isn't built in one giant leap. It's built in thousands of tiny choices that compound when no one is applauding. Tiny choices like putting $20 into an index fund instead of fast food, reading one chapter of a book instead of scrolling mindlessly, building a skill instead of gossiping in group chats, staying home to work on your dream instead of trying to impress people who bring no value to your life. These choices, these unglamorous, quiet, persistent choices, create a life others will call overnight success, but you will know the truth. Well, before we move to the next part, I want to leave you with one final reflection. Every person who built 1,000 from zero had one defining moment. A moment when they decided that the pain of staying the same was greater than the pain of becoming disciplined. And that moment, that inner decision, is where your wealth truly begins. When you cross the threshold of that decision, the inner promise to yourself that you will not quit, you will not bend, and you will not retreat, something remarkable begins to unfold in your life. You start seeing opportunities you once ignored, ideas you once dismissed, and strengths you never realized you had. It's almost as if the world adjusts its lens and finally brings your potential into focus. But the truth is the world didn't change. You did. Now we move into the second layer of building your first 1,000, the layer of intelligent action. You see, mindset alone cannot build wealth. It's the soil. It nourishes, it prepares. But eventually you must plant something in it, a seed, a skill, a business, an investment, something that grows while you keep walking forward. Most people fail here not because they are incapable, but because they want to feel ready before they begin. They want certainty before movement. They want perfect conditions, perfect timing, perfect knowledge. But perfection is the enemy of progress. Every millionaire you admire started imperfectly, started small, started unsure, started with more fear than confidence. But they started. And in those small, shaky beginnings, the future they dreamed of slowly took form. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a young guy who wanted to invest, but convinced himself he needed at least $10,000 to start. So he waited and waited and waited. By the time he finally had the money, he had wasted 3 precious years. 3 years of compound growth, 3 years of learning, 3 years of discipline. Meanwhile, another person started with only $30 a week, no shame, no excuses, just quiet consistency. Years later, she wasn't only ahead financially, she was ahead mentally, because she understood something he didn't. Wealth doesn't grow from the amount you invest. It grows from the discipline to start long before you feel ready. So let's speak honestly now, as if we're sitting together in a quiet room. If you want 1,000, you must build at least one of these 3 engines of wealth, a high-income skill, something that allows you to increase your earning power, whether it's marketing, coding, sales, design, trading, writing, consulting skills that open doors and elevate your value in the marketplace. Skills give you leverage, and leverage is the oxygen of wealth. A business or side venture, nothing extreme, nothing flashy, just something that solves a problem, serves a need, or creates value. Businesses, even small ones, are catalysts for financial transformation. They amplify you. They multiply your time. They teach you lessons you cannot learn anywhere else. Long-term investments, the quiet ones, the patient ones, the ones that grow whether you celebrate them or ignore them. Stocks, index funds, real estate, assets that rise slowly but inevitably when you keep feeding them year after year after year. You don't need all 3, but you need at least one. One engine that can eventually carry you beyond the limits of your salary, your background, or your past mistakes. Oh, now, let's talk about something people rarely admit. Building wealth is emotionally exhausting before it becomes financially rewarding. There will be nights when you question everything, when you feel the weight of sacrifice, when the dream feels too distant to believe in. You may look at your account and whisper, "What's the point? It's not growing fast enough." But let me tell you something quietly. Sincerely, you are not planting seeds for today. You are planting forests for a future you have not yet met. If you only stay consistent when results are visible, you will never reach the level of wealth where results become unstoppable. Consistency is not an act, it is a character trait, a muscle, a spiritual discipline. And if you build that muscle, money will eventually have no choice but to follow you. Now there's another truth, one that most people avoid because it feels uncomfortable. You cannot build $1,000 with the same people you built your excuses with. Look around carefully. Who drains your energy? Who distracts you from your purpose? Who mocks your discipline? Who encourages your bad habits? Who believes in your potential and who secretly hopes you never grow past them? Your circle is either fertilizing your future or poisoning it. Surround yourself with people who talk about goals, investments, ideas, opportunities. People who pull you upward instead of weighing you down. People who challenge you to do more, think more, become more. Because wealth is not only built through numbers, it is built through environment. I once knew a man who couldn't save more than $50 a month. But after changing his circle, he started saving $500, then $1 on hours, and then built a business, then bought property, then crossed 6 figures in net worth. I asked him what changed. He said, "My old friends celebrated my weaknesses. My new friends celebrated my discipline. That's the power of alignment." Who now come closer? Listen carefully. If you are starting from zero, you must treat your early money with respect. Manage it like a quiet guardian of your future. Every dollar you save, every dollar you invest, every dollar you protect becomes a building block for that first million. People who disrespect small money never earn big money. People who celebrate small money eventually own big money. So start small, but start with honor. Before we move to the next phase, I want to give you a simple truth, one that can change everything if you hold on to it. The first 1,000 you save is harder than the first 100 Zalausen. And the first 100 Zalausen is harder than the first 1,000 Lausen. Because in the beginning, you are not fighting numbers. You are fighting your own habits. Once your habits evolve, your wealth cannot help but follow. As we move into this next phase, I want you to breathe deeply and understand something with your whole being. The journey to your first 100,000 is not just a financial path, it is a spiritual one. It changes your identity, your priorities, your courage, your relationship with time. And by the time you touch that million, you will no longer be the same person who started the journey. That transformation, that slow, powerful evolution, is more valuable than the money itself. Now let's walk into the third layer of your financial ascent, the layer of mastery, patience, and long-term vision. This is where most people fall apart. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack opportunities, but because they cannot tolerate the silence of long-term work, the silence of slow growth, the silence of delayed gratification, the silence of sacrifice that goes unnoticed.